So how did you get into journalism?
It's actually a good story.
Editor-in-chief of a magazine.
Yeah, I actually was an attorney for a while, and I moved to New York to be a writer. I wanted to be the stereotypical writer in the village of New York. So I was Square, and I went to theatre school to be a better writer. While I was there, I started doing a radio show back to Australia, and I started interviewing actors and directors for a few publications in New York as a side hobby, and that kind of snowballed, and I really kind of felt like it was my own personal version of Inside the Actor's Studio, you know. And then I've written for a bunch of movie magazines, and that's where my passion was, and then I got offered a job to run moving pictures. Yeah.
Okay, so other than Benjamin Bratt, who's been the most memorable interview you ever conducted?
Ever? Well, at Sundance, we had Guillermo del Toro the other morning, and he was just so incredible and so giving, really honest, really funny, really entertaining, as well as being really informative, and that was exciting. I was at he stopped in on his. He came in, did a photo shoot for us. We sat down in these chairs and had a chat, and you know, him talking about The Hobbit, which he has 4 years to make. It doesn't come out till 2012, and working with Peter Jackson and talking about how he finds out he's been outbid on eBay for some sort of memorabilia by Peter Jackson. So there's somewhat of a rivalry there. Or that he bought the Hellboy props and then rented them back for Hellboy 2, or just, you know, his career and what has happened to him in his history, and the politics of Mexico and why he was forced to leave Mexico. Really interesting stuff. But Benjamin Bratt as well, seriously, was a huge highlight from Sundance this year. And then talking to a lot of independent filmmakers and some actors that you wouldn't consider to be Sundance people, like Matthew Lillard, who had a film up at Sundance. And although his film that he's in is kind of like a quirky comedy, he really had a lot of cool stuff to say about what he thought about things. And I think that that's an interesting revelation always, to have someone who's known for one type of acting or for being in certain types of films, and then discovering kind of the real person underneath, or the story, you know, we call it the stories behind the movies, and that's always been pretty interesting for me.
Okay, 2 more questions. Something else was going on yesterday. See, you were here interviewing people, and something was going on in D.C.
Yeah, a little thing called the inauguration.
Have you ever met President Obama or interviewed him? Or?
No, I haven't.
Is he on your list?
I've never interviewed a president.
Does he know he's on your list?
I mean, who wouldn't like to chat to him? I mean, he's really become a pop star of sorts. I know, you know, at the beginning of the campaign, we all, you know, everyone tried to play it down, this relationship or comparison to some socialites or other people that are in the media all the time. But he's become a true statesman because of how eloquent he is and what he stands for, and but a true statesman rather than just a politician. And I think it's a different school of politics, and one that's being warmly welcomed at a time when everything else seems so cold. The war, the economy, and he's a person who seems to be uniting people, or rallying people around a cause, and getting people excited again about possibilities. But it was interesting because we interviewed Chris Rock in here yesterday on the day of the inauguration. So he was in here with Nelson George, who is someone who's captured black culture in so many ways. He's done projects on black men in basketball. He's done projects on, like the project that Chris and he did is on hair, you know, African American hair, called Good Hair. But you know, just having them in here talking about their issues on a day and all that sort of stuff, and it seems that there's too much cursory information out there. So we've really been able to talk to people about what they think, what they believe inside and outside of film. And also, you know, just what inspires them. I don't think there's anything more infectious than finding out and talking to people who are inspired, truly inspired. And I think it makes and provokes everybody else around them to be more creative as well and to take more risks. And so, for me, I think that's what the magazine imbues, is that sort of spirit of decency and relevant information in documentaries and narrative features, in studio films as well as independent films.
Okay.
Wow, that's a good one. See, Matthew Lillard was an example of that, but probably not to the nth degree. Person who was most different. Well, Daniel Day-Lewis, maybe. I interviewed Daniel Day-Lewis a number of years ago when he had a film called The Ballad of Jack and Rose. That film ended up playing up here at Sundance as well. His wife, Rebecca Miller, directed it. But I interviewed him, and I thought it was going to be a difficult interview because he hadn't done much press, and he was choosy about the type of press that he did, which you kind of got to respect and admire because he chooses his projects so diligently and invests himself so heavily in them. And when I interviewed him, he was so warm and so giving, and really just wanted to think about every answer, wanted to give you a good answer, wanted to ask you about you, and, and I'm like, no one cares about me. We only want, I want to find out as much about you as possible and what makes you tick.